My name is Bibi. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Afrikaans at the University of Pretoria. I do research about Afrikaans literature, film and songs, and also South African literature more broadly. For my research project here at STIAS, where I'm an Isalomsa fellow, I am looking at the history of feminist literature in Afrikaans, but I'm looking at it specifically through an intersectional lens. So taking into consideration things like race and class and investigating what this perspective can give us. For my seminar this Thursday, I will be talking about Black feminist literature that was published in the last 20 years. If we look at the history of Afrikaans literature, the first poetry collection by a black man was published in 1944, but the first by a black woman only in 2005. So I'm looking at why there was this lack of black women's voices in Afrikaans poetry. And I will look at the different poets that were inspired by this 2005 collection, Ons Kom Vandaan by Diana Ferris. So there are many young black feminist writers writing today, and I'm looking at what they can teach us about how we think about Afrikaans literature. When we take this black feminist poetry as a departure point, it allows us to look at the history of Afrikaans feminist literature differently, because then you can see that while white feminist writers were critical of patriarchy, they still often supported or were complicit in white supremacy, the apartheid regime. And also, if we look at this black feminist poetry, it allows us to notice different things about the history of Afrikaans literature. For example, the fact that Afrikaans as a language was developed by slaves, that even though it was used as the language of the oppressor, it also has this alternative history, oppositional history. At the end of my 3-year fellowship at STIAS, I hope that I will have written a book about Afrikaans feminist literature. It will be a history of sorts, looking at the history of this phenomenon, but like I said, looking at it from an intersectional lens and taking a perspective that's usually not taken on Afrikaans literature. So looking at this oppositional black feminist history in Afrikaans literature.